what do we think the market looks like for Saquon Barkley and some of these other big name running backs that after yesterday are all going to be allowed to hit the market? So what do things look like for Saquon specifically, and how might that trickle down?
Yeah, the running back market is a little depressed. I mean, I feel bad saying that because we've been saying the depressed running back market for 15 years now, it feels like. But just for now, you have the most, I think the most talented group of running backs we've seen as free agents coming up here at the same time. None of them getting tagged.
It's undeniable, I think. I mean, I don't think it's ever been close since I started covering the league 10 years ago.
Yeah. And my mom brain can't go back past 10 years. So yeah, we'll just stick with this is the most talented group that's available, right? But that being said, it doesn't, and look, I do think it will prevent a complete fall off because look, the stock is down here in terms of the running back value. I think this helps their cause, right? Because you have such a good group, but I still think it's looked at as two tiers, right? You have Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley at the top on most teams' boards, right? And then you got the Henrys, the Pollards, I'm missing a few here, but that
DeAndre Swift, but for the most part, those
Swift's
are the big
a great
names.
one, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. They're in like that $6 million range. Now, this is what's going to be interesting, right? The Giants claim they still have interest in Saquon, right? Saquon wants to be in New York. Saquon loves the New York Giants. He is the New York Giants. I live in Giants land. I don't think people can name another Giant outside Saquon Barkley. It makes sense. If they were able to come up with a deal. I just don't believe the type of money that Saquon wants and maybe could even get in free agency is going to he may be able to get a better payday if he were to leave New York. I don't know if New York is willing to come all the way up for him because we've seen it in the past. Joe Shane does not value the running back position. He would have never been in this position with Saquon if he did. And it's pretty well known how he sees it. Now, that being said, there are teams who are in the market for a running back like a Josh Jacobs, like a Saquon Barkley. And the first team that comes to mind for me would be the Houston Texans, right? That is their missing piece. When you take a look at their offenses, they're trying to build around CJ Stroud. And I believe that Saquon at this point, outside of the Giants, can get a $10, $11 million a year type contract if he was willing to leave New York.
So that was going to be my question, because going back to last summer, remember there was that whole thing with Jonathan Taylor. What is Jonathan Taylor worth? What are these guys at the top of the running back market, quote unquote, going to get? And I always felt like it was a non-starter for these guys to chase the McCaffrey number. That world no longer exists. And he is such a specific type of player that just felt like it was a fool's errand even trying to get to that place if you were an agent. The number that I always thought made sense, and I said this to multiple GMs last summer, just kind of kicking this idea around because just on like a philosophical level, I find it interesting. I kept looking at that Nick Chubb contract, right? When he signed it in 2021, it was 3 for 36. I was like, all right, why wouldn't you just go to the natural markup of the Nick Chubb deal? Doesn't that make the most sense for everybody? If you're Jonathan Taylor's people, if you're a running back in that vein, and that's exactly what happened. He got 3 years, 42, so it's 14 a year, which is the natural markup of the Chubb contract. But Jonathan Taylor signed that when he was 24 years old. So I'm wondering if that sort of market exists for guys like Saquon or Josh Jacobs, or they are going to have to settle into a 3 years, 30 million with 18 million guaranteed sort of space. So where do you think it shakes out for those top guys?
So I had a lot of people in Indy sharing with me, because the running back market was discussed a lot with different people. It was a big topic there, that we should expect to see a lot of 1-year deals on these running backs. Derrick Henry is a great example. Okay. So you think of Derrick Henry and he needs a very special type of offense and certain type of pieces around him to have success. So yeah, we all know the Derrick Henry with the Titans tearing it up over the last few seasons. But I know that in terms of the rest of the teams outside of Tennessee specifically, they don't see him as the Derrick Henry that once was, right? So it has to be a very specific type of offense for him to have success in. So yeah, like back in the day, he'd definitely be a top guy, but I believe he's going to fall more in that second tier. And of course, you have teams like the Baltimore Ravens who are interested in trading for him before the trade deadline, trying their shot and trying to get involved with him. And the Miami Dolphins are a team keeping an eye on him as well. So He's going to have a market. I just don't know if it's going to be the type of market he wants it to be.
He's 30. He's 30 with an unbelievable amount of miles on him. So even if he's been able to stave off that aging curve in the way that other running backs haven't necessarily, I mean, you're still playing with fire a little bit. That being said, I would love to see him in Baltimore. I would absolutely love to see him within that Ravens offense. And I know that everyone has made that connection because of the interest at the trade deadline, but that's another one where even if it's the obvious one, give me that all day.
Correct.
So we're looking at a depressed market for running backs, which I think makes sense given the landscape of the NFL. Are there any other positions as we look toward free agency where you think the guys at those spots are going to be a little bit disappointed in what their markets look like?
I think the safety position and the linebacker position are the two. I'd say if there was three to get, it would be all three. I'd say running backs, linebackers, and safeties are going to be a more depressed market. And it's going to be apparent as soon as these contracts come out. We're going to see it, and you're just going to say, "What happened?" It's just not the right time. And then, of course, you can always point to the draft as being always a reason for why we're seeing it shaped this way.
I also think safety specifically. There's 10 guys that are going to hit free agency this year that are workable starters. There's so many guys available at that position that, and with Antoine Winfield being franchised and no one at the top level of that market, I don't think there's anybody worth splurging for, because you can sign Jordan Whitehead for $7 million a year, where it ends up being. But there are a lot of those types of players available in this class specifically.